Hey there.
Hello, how are
Yeah,
you?
I'm good. Do you want my video? Yeah.
If you're open, if not, that's
Sure.
fine.
Sure. Sure.
We can
Here we go.
go either way.
Sure.
Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Whereabouts are you in the world?
I'm in Amherst, Massachusetts,
Okay.
and a couple of weeks from now we're going to do our winter migration to Panama.
To Panama.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good migration.
Yeah. We have a small farm that we live on in the western part of the country, and we stay there until the beginning of May.
Oh, that sounds quite amazing. So through the winter to May.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's really an honor and a pleasure to meet you. We'd love to just get to know a little bit about you. I watched, like I said, I've watched a little bit of your story and um, heard a lot of, and read a lot of the research around allostasis, and it's a fascinating topic to me. And so, I want to just like maybe learn a little bit more about it and like the evolution of it. And I've also like felt like I've connected to that concept on a deeper level in my meditation practice. So I'm a physical therapist, and I've shifted from physical therapy. I'm still practicing, but from physical therapy a lot into mental health and helping people navigate stress, do stress coaching, breath work, breathing exercises, the cold plunge ice bath fad.
Yeah.
I get into that. And I think allostasis really applies in such a strong way for all those learnings and practices. So I'd love to just nerd out with you about all of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
Yeah, all of it. So um, I love the definition, and I'm curious, how do you define allostasis, and has that definition changed since 1987 when you coined it?
Um, it has developed, I would say, a bit. The main point, which I actually realized and wrote about in 1981 with Joseph Iyer, was that the standard way of describing physiology in medical schools is that all the parameters are held constant by negative feedback. And when an error develops beyond a set point, some mechanisms uh, come in to restore it to so-called the normal set point. And so the examples are a body temperature is held at 98.6 or something like that. And if we begin to overheat, then cooling mechanisms are evoked. And if our blood glucose goes up, uh, the insulin is secreted by the pancreas to reduce it. And if our blood pressure goes up, many mechanisms apply to hold it to so-called normal levels, constant. And the problem that I realized with Joe Iyer is that actually the truth is that all of these parameters are going up and down all the time, and for a good reason, because our bodily needs and mental needs are going up and down all the time. And the real design of our physiology is to match our predicted need, the need that we are about to happen, with the possibility of satisfying these needs and preventing errors.
Mm.
So the idea of allostasis is that rather than uh, correcting errors, the whole thing's constant. The brain anticipates what the needs will be and provides the resources to deal with them before there are errors. So that was more or less what we described in 1981, and again in 1988, I think it was that we actually published allostasis. And I gave it a name. We gave it a name, allostasis, at that point, because we realized that the standard model of homeostasis, which is everything is constant by
Mhm.
negative feedback, correction of errors, um, it was a dominant model. And if we didn't have a name as an alternative, we weren't going to get anywhere.
Mm. Mm.
So I talked with a professor of Greek, actually, philosophy, and said, well, what could I use as a word that would describe the difference in our view to homeostasis? And he said, well, if homeostasis is stability through change, allostasis is stability. I'm sorry, if homeostasis is stability through constancy, allostasis would be stability through change. So that's where the name came from.
Hmm.
So that was 1988, and at the time, many people in the fields thought this was an entirely unnecessary addition and wrong-headed, and they were quite annoyed, many of them. But I would say over the years, we've gained actually some traction with the idea. The difference between my understanding now and in 1988 is that um, I wanted to replace homeostasis with allostasis,
Hmm.
and the role of the brain as opposed to just local feedbacks. But of course, we do have many local feedbacks, and there's a good reason, and that is that well, allostasis involves predicting what the next state will be.
Mm-hmm.
There errors occur. I mean, we can't. Not everything is predictable, and certain things are especially unpredictable. And so, for things that are unpredictable, where we will make errors, we need homeostatic mechanisms to correct them. And so, I now understand that that allostasis is a dominant mode prediction,
Hmm.
but it is supplemented by various mechanisms of homeostasis as well.
I love that. I love all that, and I really appreciate you re-articulating it. And I I stated 1987, and I recall, yeah, your first study was 81. I wasn't born yet, so I apologize
Yeah.
the dates, getting the dates correct. But I recently I came across the concept of allostasis maybe 3 years ago, and there's a research study out of Austria, and they quoted you and spoke about allostasis and stability, and it's called keeping the breath in mind. And so it was looking at the concept of using breathing as a way to create and modulate stressors to navigate and create homeostasis within the body. And a lot of things clicked for me, and it's spoken to the prediction network and the observation balance. So we want to predict, our brain is a predicting mechanism. So we predict, and then if what we witness matches that prediction, that homeostasis is a little bit more readily available. That's that allostasis. And I would love for you to play with this concept and definition that I've been looking at as far as allostasis and how I feel like I understand it, and would love for you to poke holes in my definition. But it feels like how I articulate and speak about allostasis, which makes sense to a lot of people, is homeostasis is balance within the body. So in the body, homeostasis is balance within the body. Allostasis is balance between body and the external world and nature. And for me, something about that makes sense. And maybe that's just another way to help people understand it. But how would you feel? How do you feel about that concept that allostasis is balance between body and nature, while homeostasis is balance within self? And would love for you to take holes in it.
Well, I don't like it very much. I mean, it's
Nice.
romantic, it's romantic and so on. But
I love romanticizing things. I
yeah,
love romanticizing things.
I'm I'm also, I mean, I'm a laboratory scientist, and
Cool.
so my goal in articulating allostasis is to say that it's not about achieving homeostasis. Homeostasis is basically not the way our bodies are regulated. They are regulated to go up and down when the brain, as according to the predictions that the brain makes. They're not all conscious predictions. There are many unconscious mechanisms that the brain uses, but the core idea of allostasis is to match our needs, our internal needs and our external needs with the resources, to provide the resources to meet our needs. Okay, and that that can have some romance to it as well. Um, is to meet our needs with a minimal amount of error, minimal amount of discrepancy and difficulty.
Mm.
So homeostasis is only, I think, only involved when actually when we've been unable to predict correctly, and we have to make a small correction. That's what homeostasis is for. As to connecting nature and the brain and the body, well, yeah, that is a core human need. We need to be connected to nature in various ways,
Mm.
and making that connection uh, does provide us with resources to maintain our appropriate needs in our body, such as blood pressure and glucose. So I mean, I don't, I can connect to it, but in a somewhat different way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I was just taking the word and like breaking it down. The suffix of stasis is like
Sure. Sure.
allo, and me for me, allo is like between one and another. And so I was like, oh, allostasis, balance, stability, other, homeo within self. And so that's kind of how I broke it down. And
Sure.
yes, a romanticizing of the word.
It's okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's fine.
Hey, if you like, hey, as long as the grandfather of the word approves and says it's fine, I'll take that and run with it. But what I do like about that concept is, um, it the more need that the body exerts, the more effort that the body exerts to find that balance, the more allostatic load, and something that romanticized and connect with was just the idea. And this is where like my practice of like meditation and mental health mindfulness comes in. And it's like when you're outside in the most beautiful Panama scenery by the beach, you feel this deep connection with nature, and that creates this natural like calm. And in that situation, what I anticipate is going on is there's a very low allostatic load. There's not a lot of external stressors for you to navigate, and that in itself creates a sense of ease and calm. And so that was the draw and the connection to nature that I really like, and that helps me
Sure.
personally into this like
Sure.
reminder of the importance of nature in
Sure.
balance within our body.
I'm
So
with you. Yeah.
yeah, I really like that, and so I appreciate you, and I thank you for bringing that up into the
You're you're welcome.
ethers. Um, so I guess a little bit more on your personal journey beyond allostasis. What else currently is very alive for you in your work and research and life?
Well, I in both in Amherst, where we live, Massachusetts, we're here in the summer, and I have a garden, and that's a very important source
Mm.
of pleasure for me, growing stuff and noticing the weeds and the insects, and yeah, it's a way I connect with nature. And my wife and I have both been long long term backpackers and birders and so on, and we continue to hike and uh, you know carry our binoculars where we go. And the same thing is true in Panama. It's a very rich area. We actually live in the mountains, and we're about 2 hours drive from the beaches.
Mm.
And there again, we're amidst a lot of very rich natural life.
Mm.
And as far as occupying my days, I continue to write. I write articles about. I'm basically a lifelong social activist. I
Mm.
don't know if you've read any of that material, but
Yes.
I was in. I was as a student involved in the freedom rides in Mississippi. I was in jail in Mississippi and uh, working on for civil rights, and I've basically continued that.
Mm.
And I actually think allostasis is sort of an outgrowth of my discovery that the worst hypertension is found in the US, found among the Black community, which has been segregated.
Mm.
And So I wanted to actually figure out, once I realized that, I wanted to figure out, well, why do they have hypertension? And I think it's because they suffered the greatest social tension. And then I began to actually investigate the actual mechanistic, low-level mechanisms by which social tension causes hypertension. So there's been a long connection between my social activism and working in communities and the ideas that produced allostasis. So, and I continue to work on that. People now, for example, I'm a neuroscientist, and a great deal of neuroscience now claims that mental disturbances are distinct diseases, that schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, ADHD, obesity, alcoholism, these are brain diseases, according to much of neuroscience. And I don't think that's true. I think there is no evidence for it. In fact, there's increasing, actually, scientific evidence that they're not distinct diseases, and they shouldn't be treated by drugs or uh, physical manipulations like electroshock and transcranial magnetic stimulation. They should be treated by helping people in the ways I think that you're doing, offering empathy, offering support, offering training, and helping get better control over our own difficulties. And I write about this. I'm just finishing off a book review about this. Um, and I sort of preach it. I give talks about it to mental health groups. Why I don't think depression is a mental disorder. It's a disturbance often caused by childhood trauma, childhood difficulties, life stress, and so on. And it's not well treated by drugs. And
I fully agree. I got interested in this stress work and helping individuals with their stress through my work as a physical therapist, where I noticed that many of my patients were more bothered by extraneous stressors of their life than the internal, like, physiological injury stress. And so I noticed that my sessions were more effective when I gave that empathy, when we slowed down, when I invited
yeah,
some breathing to calm and regulate the nervous system.
right,
And the physical therapy worked wonders
right.
because they actually had that freedom of movement and intentionality to express. And so that led me into learning more about pain and pain science. And through that deep dive, found the biopsychosocial model of pain, which really contributes. Pain is not just a physiological experience, but a biological, psychological, and social experience that's essentially a combination of thousands of different factors of life. And like you said, childhood trauma and how you learned about pain as a kid, and then heartbreak, and your bio or your psychological situation, your socioeconomic situation, your diet. All these things contribute to how you react to a painful stimulus. And so I really am on board and in alignment with your current mission as well.
Well, you're making a lot of sense to me. I mean, I think this is excuse me, I'm recovering from COVID, so I still have a bit of a cough.
Hey, you're fine. Thank you for joining.
Sure, sure. No, I think this is exactly right. I think you're tuned into the right things, and you're doing good for people. This is such a difficult time. People are so disturbed and upset, and you're providing what they need. A bunch of Prozac is not what they need, so good for you.
Thank you.
By the way, you don't sound like you're from the Ozarks. Where are you from?
I am from those. I'm from Arkansas. I can turn up my twang a little bit.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm born and raised. Parents are from Arkansas. Grandparents
okay.
from Arkansas. So
Okay.
I can turn up the twang, but I
Okay.
lived in San Diego for 7 years. So I think
Okay.
it got washed out.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But when you go visit your family, you probably it goes back, right?
Comes on back. It comes on back.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
soon as
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
mentioned, then I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I have a little
Right.
twinge.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Good.
that's
Good.
but yeah, I am very, I feel like again, the concept of allostasis is just giving me this really strong, stable pull of understanding that helps me articulate to people and connect with people a little bit more. And it gives me a lot of hope as well to know that through creating stability within the body, within daily habits, within the socioeconomic structure, we can create a little bit more health and wellness and positive change. And so I'm grateful for you and your work and the concept and the fact that I found it and really migrated so deeply to it. And so I feel like I currently am a pillar of stability through change for others. And I want to continue to do that. So I'm really appreciative for you.
Well, I am delighted to meet you and to know that somebody is actually doing some good with it. It's a
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I hope to do a lot of good with it and keep on sharing the good word of allostasis.
okay. Good.
Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you jumping on. And I'll definitely reach out in another couple of weeks. Just let your COVID move through. Maybe let your Panama migration take place, and would love to just jump on the phone and pick your brain again and have another
Sure.
conversation.
I'd be glad to do that. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Good to meet you.
Very nice to meet you as
Yeah.
well.
Take care. Yeah.
Enjoy. Bye.
Bye-bye, Justin.